Taken after the old man, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's all right. He was a pretty good one, so that's not a bad thing. So, guys, we got to pay the bills real quick, and then on to our case. Here we go. True Crime with the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the Stars is brought to you by the Burbrower Law Firm. Folks, if you've been injured in a car accident, please reach out to our good friend Adam Burbrower at the Burbrower Law Firm. Adam and his crew do things the right way with great results. Not only is Adam a great attorney, but the dude has framed pictures of Ernie the Cat Lad, the unpredictable Johnny Rods, and our very own Boston Bad Girl in his office. How cool is that? If you see Adam at the community pool trying to nail that elusive triple Lindy, you'll notice superstar Billy Graham tattooed on his back and Bret the Hitman Hart tattooed on his chest. This guy is not only the man of the hour, the man with the legal power, too sweet to be sour, he is also the excellence of elocution. Besides being a great guy, Adam is a true crime aficionado and an avid WWF historian. Who else can get you a great settlement while breaking down Mario Mancini's greatest matches? Well, that one's a quickie. Check out Adam at burbrowerlaw.com and follow him on Facebook. And don't forget to tell him that the Bad Girl, the Playa, and the Stars sent you. Well, you know, guys, in the history of my very long and full life, and I didn't calculate it, but I talked into my phone. I've been on this earth, thank you, God, 25,476 days. I had no idea it was that much, but in that time, there's only been 2 cases that I've watched where the verdict was so outrageous that I was completely taken off guard. I mean, verklempt even. And one, of course, was OJ, which we already covered, and the other one really isn't too hard to guess, Casey Anthony. And I'd venture to guess that anyone who's watching or listening to this now also watched that trial in 2011. I'm going to keep our scripted timeline to a minimum because I know we all have plenty to say, you know, of opinions of our own. But Bad Girl and Tiffany are going to take us through the Cliff Notes version of the timeline, and then we can all tee off on another Hall of Fame piece of shit. There she is.
Oh, yeah. So this lovely POS, I was going to say lady, woman, and then I held off on both of those words. On June 16th, 2008, the lovely Casey Anthony departed from her parents' home in Orlando, Florida, where she and her daughter Kaylee resided. Her father, George Anthony, later testified that he saw his granddaughter Kaylee leaving with Casey. Casey told her mother, Cindy, that she was taking Kaylee to her new nanny, whom Casey identified as Zenaida Zanny Fernandez Gonzalez.
Zanny the nanny. Yeah.
And the next day, she further informed Cindy that the 3 were headed to Tampa on a work trip. A work trip. Okay.
Yeah, considering she didn't have a job, like I'm wondering because you know Casey and Kelly live with the parents, right? I mean, like, was she ever honest with them?
I feel like she just lied about everything all the time.
I agree. I don't think she was. Yeah, her entire life was a lie.
I think she was spoiled, and it was allowed, whether they meant to or not. It was allowed, and it was something she just got used to doing. She just lied, and that's how she got her way her whole life.
Well,
you know,
honestly,
seems that
this
way
is
at least.
Just my opinion, but I think she had a little bit of leverage because I think the parents absolutely adored Kaylee, the granddaughter, and I think Casey used that as leverage to get her way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Be surprised. So on July 15th, 30 days after her departure, her car was found abandoned in Orlando and towed away. George and Cindy were notified that the car had been impounded. And when George went to recover the car, he and the tow yard manager noted a strong smell coming from the trunk, which both later stated they believed to be that of human decomposition. When the trunk was opened, it contained only a trash bag. That day, Cindy reported Kaylee missing, telling 911 dispatchers that Kaylee's that Casey's car smelled of dead bodies and that she had not seen Kaylee for 31 days. Cindy later retracted her statement regarding the car's odor. I don't
I'm
know
not a
about you
bit.
guys, but I've never smelled a human decomposing, so
No,
I'm
I
not
never
sure
have.
what it would smell like.
No, I never have. But the way they describe it, like when I was watching the documentary, I guess it kind of does smell like if you had a bag of trash just kind of left in your trunk and it's hot. I mean, it's Florida. You can imagine how it smells. So I guess it's very similar. That's kind of how they described it. They were saying like you can't really tell the difference between like that and then also like an animal. Like if you smell like a dead animal, they were saying you can't tell the difference between either of them. So I imagine it kind of smells like that.
So I
Well, now,
wonder how the mother decided that it wasn't a bag of trash, that it was a human body decomposing in the trunk.
I think that she just realized that Casey did something because Kaylee was nowhere to be found and she realized that something was off. And I think she just assumed that, I don't know. I'm trying to
She killed her.
justify it. And right. Like, I'm thinking, like, does your mother really think that you killed your daughter? Like, is that maybe she just automatically was like, if your daughter has been missing for this period of time and you don't know where she is, like, that's strange. You probably killed her. Maybe that's what she was thinking.
well,
That's so
here's
weird.
my question. My question is, they live with the parents, with the Casey's parents. How long, like before this, what was the longest amount of time that they went without seeing their granddaughter? I had imagined it'd be like a couple of days. Why the hell did this lady wait 31 days? Is my question.
Yeah, I think that Casey was just such a good liar and just probably made up a bunch of stories. And for whatever reason, her mom, I mean, I don't think that your parents are ever thinking, like, my daughter killed her daughter. Like, I don't think anyone's ever thinking that. So
Right.
they probably just took it for what it was and for what she was saying. I mean, she did have a boyfriend, so she probably, and from what they said, she did stay over there a lot with Kaylee. So they probably just assumed that.
Until 31 days. That's when they decided decomposing body in the trunk.
Right. Crazy.
Well, Casey Anthony is then arrested on July 16th. This was after she led the police on a wild goose chase to the non-existent residence of Zenaida Hernandez, who Casey claimed kidnapped Kaylee. She also took them to her alleged place of employment, Universal Studios. However, she had not worked there for 3 years.
She had some balls walking in to a place that she hasn't worked at in 3 years. I would be like horrified. Like if somebody told me I had to go back to a place I used to work, I'd be like, absolutely not. Like they were probably looking at her like she was insane.
Yeah.
Like, why is this girl walking through here? And they said that she was like waving at people and like saying hi.
Yeah. She totally came in. Yep.
So weird.
And then finally she said, well, you know what? I don't work here.
Yeah, like what did she think was going to happen? Like she really took them all the way into the building.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I don't understand.
She's diabolical.
Yeah, I don't get why she lied about the employment part of all of this though, because I feel like that is irrelevant to the story and what happened in the first place. So it's like, why even lie about being employed at all?
Yeah,
like,
what did you gain by that?
Right.
I know, right? Maybe it's just second nature. It's like that's all that comes out of her mouth.
You're gonna lie about one thing, might as well lie about everything, right? Just stay in practice.
Yeah.
It's like going to the batting cage, you gotta work on your swing there.
Well, Casey is charged with first-degree murder on October 14th. The unsealed indictment also charges her with aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, and 4 counts of providing false information to law enforcement. In response, Casey's lawyer, Jose Baez, says his client's actions will become clearer at trial. I sincerely believe when we have finally spoken, everyone, and I mean everyone, will sit back and say, now I understand. That explains it.
I don't understand anything. Nothing makes any sense.
Well,
So
the
I don't know what you
problem
guys
is,
talking
in a way,
about.
he's right in a way, because we all of us understood it. The problem is the 12 jurors didn't.
Yeah. So I was watching. It was not the regular. So Casey had her own like documentary come out where it was like a 3-part series. It was just kind of like her story. And then there's another one from I think like 2017 that an investigator, Jim Clemenez, he like went through like everything. And they sat down with one of the jurors, and I guess the jurors were, this particular one was saying that because everything that the state brought forward as evidence, Jose Baez could say, well, no, it could be this, or like the science was very questionable because of Jose Baez. So they were saying like literally just because of that, they could not say that she was guilty because there was no actual science to prove it, I guess, is what they were saying.
Yep.
That's pretty sad.
We'll talk more about that. Yeah, no, I heard the same thing.
Yeah. Well, on December 8th, the skeletal remains of a young girl are discovered. The bones are found in a bag in a wooded area less than a half a mile from the Anthony's home by a utility worker by the name of Ray Kronk. It is later revealed that Kronk had sought to convince police to search the area back in the summer. What do we say every week? Every week we say, if the cops only did, right?
Yeah.
It's a recurring theme, isn't it?
But
Every week.
what prompted him to tell the police to search that specific area, though?
That's a good question.
That's
I'd like to know.
I think it was because it was close to their house, the Anthony's house.
Yeah, but I feel like there was like a whole stretch of like, it was kind of like woods on either side of the road. I don't know. I just think it's like weird. I mean, I don't think the guy obviously had anything to do with anything at all, but it's so weird that he would say to look at that specific area.
Yeah. A lot of odd things in this case.
Yeah.
It's possible he smelled a decomposing body as well.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Yeah.
Who knows? Oh, well, on December 20th, 2008, the remains are confirmed to be those of Kaylee.
That's
Isn't
so
she
sad.
adorable?
Oh my
She's
God.
How
so
sad
cute.
is that?
She
She's
wasn't
so
even 3
cute.
years old yet.
Look at her. Oh. The Orange County Chief Medical Examiner reports that the bones showed no evidence of trauma and that Kaylee's death is being ruled a homicide of undetermined means. Although the skull is found with duct tape around the nose, mouth, and jaw, the advanced state of decomposition ultimately prevents investigators from pinpointing an exact cause and date of death. So to me, somebody knew what they were doing.
Right.
Well, so that I mean, we might get into it more later, but so that goes into kind of like the whole chloroform like theory that the state had. So they had found chloroform in her trunk. And so they're saying that like that could have been how she was killed. And
Makes
then
sense.
they were saying that the duct tape wasn't necessarily what killed her and wasn't wrapped around her at all. It looks like the bag that she was in may have slid down, and that's how the tape kind of got onto her in the first place. But of course, those are all theories. Like nobody really knows what happened.
But
Right.
we're going to talk later because maybe like every piece of evidence by itself really could not convict her. But when you take all the circumstantial evidence and you add it all up, you have to be a moron not to believe this lady did it.
I
Lady,
know.
whatever she is.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know.
I don't understand how somebody doesn't report their child missing. Like that alone makes zero sense. Like take out everything else in the case. Like that alone is like, why would you not report your child missing?
After
And
even if we believe her that the nanny kidnapped the kid, but you don't call the cops.
right, like that alone just makes zero sense and is like
No.
the biggest red flag.
Right.
Big red flag. Big red flag. My neighbor, and this is no comparison, but this just tells you a little bit of the what's up here. My neighbor's cat got out for the first time ever 2 days ago. She was out here crying and has been for 2 days, making noise, shaking a box of her cat food. She was holding up a toy, swinging it around, going up and down in the woods, on the streets, and that was 1 hour after it happened.
And that's for
These
a cat.
people, for a cat.
Yeah.
Okay, which I get because if
yeah.
I should get loose, oh my God, I would.
I know if Cash got loose, I couldn't find him, I'd lose my mind. So the fact that we feel like that about an animal and she couldn't even feel like that about her daughter is kind of sad and pathetic.
It's unfathomable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then on April 13th, 2009, prosecutors announced their intention to pursue the death penalty. Although earlier court papers indicated that the death penalty would not be in play, the new notice of intent cites sufficient aggravating circumstances to justify its imposition. Woo!
So I think that I don't know, this is just my thought that maybe the jury they didn't want to sentence her to death because they were kind of unsure and they felt that maybe that was like kind of harsh because they didn't know exactly what happened. So maybe that kind of persuaded them to be more on the she isn't guilty side of it because they didn't want to do that. So maybe if they had just gone for a different, maybe like life in prison or whatever, maybe the outcome would have been different.
Yeah.
I think it's hard with the death penalty because not everybody agrees with that. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, if the death penalty was ever warranted, you snuffed out the life of a beautiful 2-year-old girl because you wanted to be free. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately there are people who, even though she did something terrible, they still like don't think she should die.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the trial began on May 24th, 2011, with the prosecution's opening salvo of Casey being a party girl with no use for a young daughter, as evidenced by the months spent shopping and drinking during Kaylee's absence. Those remarks are soon eclipsed by Baez's stunning opening statement, which asserts that Kaylee drowned in the family swimming pool and that George sought to cover up the accidental death. The lead defense lawyer also alleges that George had molested Casey, thereby igniting her habit of lying to cover up the pain, and that Kronk, the utility worker, had found Kaylee's body and planted it in the woods. Taking the stand as the first witness, George denies that he ever molested his daughter or knew anything about Kaylee's drowning. So there's a lot there. So,
wow.
So with Baez, so Casey was saying that she didn't know that Baez was going to bring up that George had molested her. And so pretty much he brought it up and she just like allowed it to happen. So I feel like that I honestly don't believe that that's true.
Wow.
I think the fact that he did it and like didn't tell her, but she went along with it just proves that that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So And then the whole like she's lying like all the time because of her father. It's like you're an adult. You know at this point what's like right and what's wrong. So the excuse of I'm lying because I learned that from my father because I had to because he molested me, like no. Like at some point take accountability for your own actions.
I agree.
Right. Now, first of all, does that look like a grieving mother? I mean, I have a pretty vivid imagination. Your child is missing. Actually, your child is dead, and and then you get this tattoo, which I believe Bella Vita means beautiful life, right?
Yeah.
And
The
this
whole
is
thing is just sick.
this is while your child is either kidnapped by Zanny the nanny or in your trunk.
Right. Like regardless, even if she didn't kill her daughter and she was with this nanny and you haven't seen her, that I would be going crazy as a mother. Like that alone is like alarming.
I know.
And she's just out like partying. Like, I don't know. Nothing adds up. Nothing makes any sense in this story.
I tell you, to me, like George Anthony is another victim because like the torture that poor man had to endure. I tell you what, if I was George Anthony, and the minute that trial was over, I would have waited for Jose Baez outside the courtroom, and I would have beat him to death. I mean, literally, because the how could you say things like that without any substantiation whatsoever? And how did he get away with that?
There was a lot of
stuff from Casey.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that he said and did that Casey like didn't agree with or didn't know about, but she let him do it anyway. So like she doesn't believe that Kaylee drowned in a pool, but she let that be the main like the whole thing throughout the entire trial. Like she let that go on, but she even said she's like, I don't believe that happened.
Well, I don't believe anything she says anyway.
I was like, why are you going along with all of this nonsense then?
Whatever she said, I would believe the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I honestly, I don't think that her dad did anything to her. No. But I do think that it is a strong possibility that he did have something to do with what was going on. Just because of his actions and his behavior too is kind of strange.
I have to agree with that.
Yeah, like he was saying that he didn't think she did anything. Like to her, he would say like, I don't think you did anything. Like, I think you're innocent. And then he would go to the cops and say the opposite. And then he was the first one to go to the grand jury to indict her for the death penalty. And it's like, if you think your daughter, it was an accident, why are you trying to kill your daughter? Right. Like so bad. Like that is weird to me.
It sounds like they have the same disease.
It sounds like they're both crazy. Yeah, like they're both psychotic.
Yeah,
it's a very dysfunctional family.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I think the mom is the only like I guess normal one.
I don't know.
She's a little. I guess she's a little out there too.
Yeah.
On June 23rd, 2011, Cindy refutes previous testimony in a crucial day for the defense. Cindy claims that she was the one who researched chloroform on her computer. She also testifies that a stain found in the trunk allegedly caused by Kaylee's decomposing body was there when the family purchased the car 8 years earlier. So the chloroform thing, I don't think I believe her that she's the one that researched that because that makes zero sense.
I know.
Like, why would she be the one to do that unless she was the one who killed the child? Like, I mean, I don't just search chloroform on my computer, just like, hey, let's just look up chloroform and for no reason. Like, that's very strange.
I think she said something, if I remember correctly, that she was trying to do some research on chlorophyll and she accidentally typed chloroform and If you believe that, I have some swampland in Central Florida I have to
God,
sell.
what is wrong with this whole family?
Yeah,
Right.
they're so weird. And I
Yeah,
guess
I think between the three of us, I think if they searched every computer that any of us ever owned, and search for the word chloroform, they'd get 0 hits. Very very
Yeah,
safe bet.
none,
no, I've never
none, and
searched
that's
for chloroform
surprising
in
to
my
me.
life. Brittany. On July 3rd, 2011, the two sides present their closing arguments, continuing with the narrative that Casey was overly burdened by Kaylee. Lead prosecutor Jeff Ashton emphasizes to the jury how the young mother was motivated enough to go to the extremes to achieve her freedom. Something needed to be sacrificed. That something was either the life she wanted or the life thrust upon her, he says. She chose to sacrifice her child. While forbidden from revisiting the unsupported molestation claims, Baez nevertheless delivers an effective closing argument by pointing out the lack of evidence that could definitively place Kaylee's body in the car or tie Casey to her daughter's death.
What did you guys think of? What did you think of Jeff Ashton? I actually thought he was very, very good and very thorough. I really liked him.
I thought so.
Yeah,
I thought they did a really good job at showing the evidence and what could have happened. I think they did a good job at that. It's just unfortunately it came down to science and everything they were saying could be refuted. So that's just where it went wrong, I think, because I think they had a strong case. Like it made perfect sense what they were saying.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially with the chloroform being in the trunk. So they were saying, so Henry Lee, which he was the one that also did Michael Peterson.
he's a whack job.
Yeah, so he was saying the chloroform in the trunk could be from the glue, like that, like the liner was glued. He's saying that's where the chloroform came from.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that. I mean, they said there was like a very high amount of chloroform. Like it wasn't just like a tiny bit. Like it was an extremely high amount.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what would that be doing in your car?
I know.
Right. And then, so that's where it kind of makes sense. The state's like theory of what happened. Somebody's Googling chloroform. They find chloroform in the trunk. I mean, it kind of is common sense, like of what actually happened to the child.
Right.
But why was she being chloroformed is the question. Like who chloroformed her? Was it George because he was?
I think it was.
Or was it Casey because
we'll
she
get
wanted
into
to grow up? Yeah.
I think it was Casey.
Oh God, yeah. Of course it was. They adored that little girl. There is no way that those grandparents, they would have chloroformed Casey if they had the chance. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really suspicious of George in the whole thing. I don't know exactly like what he had to do with the whole thing, but I do believe that he had something to do with it. But they're both liars, so I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
On July 5th, 2011, Casey Anthony is found not guilty of murder. After almost 6 weeks of testimony and 400 pieces of evidence presented in court, the jury of 7 women and 5 men takes less than 11 hours to reach a verdict of not guilty.
Crazy.
I just feel like those people are stupid.
They had their minds. 11 hours was, I mean, for as long as that trial was, with all the evidence, 11 hours.
Yeah, that doesn't really
seem.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. I just feel like even without all the evidence, I just feel like you not reporting your daughter missing for 31 days, like that alone just proves that you have some type of involvement in her disappearance and her murder. Like there's literally no reason why you would not report her missing. Well, other than you killed her. Like
it's awful.
There's a bottom line.
And I'm wondering if the father is guilty of maybe at the beginning covering up for Casey like he did her whole life, I think that might be the issue.
I mean, I could believe that. I could believe that. Although he's an ex-cop, but that doesn't really say anything either.
No, because they cover up for each other all the time.
Right.
Look at
Yeah,
the
exactly.
Karen Reed
Thank
case.
you. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they were saying that, like in his interviews with the police, that it was more like they weren't really interviewing him. It was like him being like, yeah, guys, like, let's get who did this. Like, he was just more of being like a cop more than like a witness or like a grandfather. He was like, they were like on the same side kind of thing. So they never looked at him for anything.
Right.
See, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah. On July 7th, Casey Anthony is sentenced to time already served. Casey receives a 4-year sentence and a $4,000 fine for the 4 counts of lying to police. But the prison time is canceled out by the near 3 years already spent behind bars and credit for good behavior. Like, why are you lying to the police in the first place? Like, that's so weird to me.
Me too.
You would only lie if you're covering something up. Casey Anthony is released from jail on July 17, 2011. Casey exits the Orange County Jail shortly after midnight, passing the approximately 100 protesters who showed up to demand justice for Kaylee. It is my hope that Casey Anthony can receive the counseling and treatment she needs to move forward with the rest of her life, her lawyer says in a statement.
Yeah, I remember the shock, from the outside of the courtroom when they announced the verdict. I mean, people were stunned. Nobody could believe it.
I know.
Yeah, people were like crying.
Another OJ.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about that. At least with OJ, one could argue that because you had a dirty cop, in Mark Furman, that might give some reasonable doubt. I do not see it here. I mean, except for, you guys ever see the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yeah.
I have.
Remember the teacher, Mr. Hand?
Mm-hmm.
Well, remember this line? Where is it?
What are you people? On dope?
I mean, I don't know if you heard that, but I think the jury was on dope. I really do. I mean,
they were on something.
Well, I made a list, so I figured maybe we could chat about them. But like you said, the science. But I think if you take all these pieces of circumstantial evidence and you put them all together, you absolutely have you have this girl dead to rights. But she did a diary entry on June 21st, and she said, "I knew that I did the right thing." And this is what I think 5 or 6 days after they left for quote unquote the work trip to Tampa. I knew that I did the right thing. I mean, what was the right thing?
I know.
Right?
What? I mean, like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And okay, the work trip. They already found out that there is no work.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, she's right. I honestly think this girl did not want to be burdened with a child. I think the boyfriend did not like children, and she wanted to live, that picture that I flashed up, she wanted to live the party life and not be responsible for another human being. But, then put the kid up for adoption, tell your parents, hey, look, mom and dad, I can't do this anymore. Would you mind taking care of her? Like, why do you have to do this? But, the other thing is there were some, I guess, on the duct tape, there were some heart-shaped stickers, and there was matching ones in Kelly's room. I mean, coincidence? I mean,
no, how much more do you need?
They were saying, so her brother Lee had come out and said that when their pets would die in the family, that is how George would bury them. He would put them in a trash bag and wrap tape around the trash bag and bury them like the exact same way.
Okay.
So
that's a problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My other thing too is that, so she was saying her story is that she was sleeping. George came and got Kaylee out of the bedroom while she was sleeping, and he did something while she was sleeping. But my thing is, like, you're saying your dad is molesting you. And you're still having your daughter in the house. You're still having her around him. So it's like, how true is that? Like that he actually was doing that to you if you're letting your daughter with him.
It's there is no way that man harmed that child. I'm sorry.
No
You know,
way. No way.
the worst thing he could have possibly done was cover up for Casey, but there is no way that man would have harmed it.
Yeah.
He would have killed somebody before that girl got harmed. I
agree.
refuse to believe he did anything to that child. So, and, you know, then you got the searches for chloroform, and I guess there was a strand of hair found in the trunk. They said it was similar to Kaylee's. I guess they couldn't prove it was, you know, it was identical.
No, I think they did prove that it was hers.
All
They
right.
did some type of DNA, but see, the problem with that, with the science, again, is that there was banding around it. And they're saying, the state is saying, like, that only occurs from a decomposing body. But then Casey's team is saying, no, it can happen for this reason, this reason, this reason. If it's hot, it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the science again, just kind of erasing everything the state's saying.
Right.
Crazy.
You got the dead body in the trunk, or, you know, the dead body smell in the trunk. Now, the laundry bag that Kelly was found in, I guess they found a matching one at the Anthony's house. I mean, that everything puts, you know, the murderer to that household. Maybe not even a Casey, right? But, you know, what's the chances of that? And I believe the duct tape and the trash bags were similar. That not that that's very too significant, but I mean the fact that laundry bag, there was an exact replica at the home.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like
there was-
Tiffany said, the stickers. I mean, come on. How much
There
more
was
do they
something
need?
with like Mickey Mouse. Was there a Mickey Mouse blanket or something that she was wrapped in? That I guess like
Well,
there was
probably
something
because her mother worked at Universal.
there's something that matched that like came from the house that she was like wrapped in. So it's like
my
clear. It's clear that it happened at the house.
Right.
So.
And, you know, I mean, not to mention all of Casey's lies. I mean, everything she said was a lie. You know, taking him to Zanny the nanny's house, who didn't even exist, taking him to the job. I mean, you're right, though, Tiffany. That took balls. That to go into Universal Studios. Yeah, this is where I work. Yeah, my desk is over there. Let me show you the break room. Oh, hi, how you doing? Like,
yeah, it's so weird.
Saying,
Just like waving to everybody.
Like,
mm-hmm.
And at the end, she goes, "Oh, you know what?
Clark.
I don't really work here." I mean, that takes you got balls the size of, like, I don't know. They're boulders. They're not even balls. They're like,
Oklahoma, like the size of Oklahoma.
easy.
I just again don't understand what the lying about the job, like how that was relevant to even anything anyways that was going on. So
Right.
I just don't know why like even lie about that.
Well, I mean,
I'm thinking that it had to be because she said she went away on a work trip. Because somebody would have said, "What work?"
Oh, yeah,
Universal.
that makes sense. That makes sense then. Yeah, because they then questioned her after they took her back to the station and they were like, the only reason you would lie is because you purposely misled us, or they said something else. And she was like, I purposely misled you.
Okay, so she lived with the parents. Like, did she every day, you know, pack a bologna sandwich in her Holly Hobby lunchbox and go to work for 9 hours a day? Like, you know what I mean? Did she?
Yeah. I think she was lying to them and telling them, yeah. So she must have been like leaving the house.
She had to be leaving the house every day at like 7:30 and coming home at 6 o'clock, and they would watch the kid, right? And well, I mean, God only knows what she was doing that whole time.
Well, she was probably at her boyfriend's house partying. She said that she was she got a job as I want to say a bartender, or it was something to do with like the nightlife that she was doing for a job.
She said, "I don't think I'd want to drink a drink that she poured for me."
But I mean, if the existing lie was that she worked at Universal, I mean, which I guess was, you know, pretty close by to where she lived. I don't know. Like, did you know, what did she do for money I guess maybe the boyfriend floated her, or the parents, maybe the parents didn't. I would think a 20-something-year-old kid still living with your parents and they have to take care of your child. You're getting a paycheck. I would think. I mean, you should at least offer to pay the parents. But she didn't have. There was no paycheck.
Well, she claims that.
Child support.
Well, so nobody knows who the father is of Kaylee. She lied about that too. So she lied and said that it was the boyfriend that she was with at the time, and the boyfriend that she was with at the time that she was pregnant actually believed he was the father for a significant amount of time, even after she was born. Then he asked for a DNA test, and that's how he found out that he was not the father. And then she claimed that she was raped at 18, and the guy who raped her is the father of Kaylee. So no one knows who the father even is.
Right. It's
well, so much for the child support theory.
Yeah.
Right. But to me, there's a bottom line. This happened almost 17 years ago, right? She got cleared about almost 14 years ago. Mm-hmm. Has there ever been anyone else as the suspect for this murder?
No.
Have you? I've never heard that the police are still investigating. I mean, I would assume if she got off, it should be an open case, right? I bet you nobody's working on it.
No, there was nobody else that they even thought would have been the person who killed her. I think Casey was the only person.
There isn't anybody, right?
Yeah.
That's really sad. That is really sad.
Yeah, no, it's that girl was absolutely adorable. Like I said, you don't want to be burdened with a kid. Then maybe somebody else. Maybe there's a nice couple out there that wants the child. I mean, maybe your parents. Maybe your parents will say, "Look, we know you're not mature enough. We'll step in and we'll raise this child." I mean, it happens all the time where parents step in and they raise their grandchildren because the kids aren't responsible. Why not have that conversation? Hey, look, mom and dad, I'm just a slut and I want to party. Right? Can you take care of this little girl until she's 18, and then maybe I'll I can party with her after that or something like that. I don't know.
Well, she was saying that she was saving all of her money because she wanted to move out, and she wasn't telling her parents about her plan to move out because she wanted to get Kaylee out of that house and like somewhere safer away from her dad.
Saving what money?
I don't know. She did like bartending or something. I can't remember what it was that she said she did, but it was something with nightlife that she was doing.
I think she
I'm
really
sorry.
did.
Does anyone think she was getting a paycheck?
I think she was getting some kind of money, but I mean, I don't know how much money she could have been getting for what she was doing.
Burning tricks, but I mean, as far as safety though, your dad is retired police. You're not going to find a safer home than living with a retired cop.
She's saying he molested her, so that she's still going with that story. Right. Like that's still the storyline is that he molested her. So she is trying to get Kaylee away from that is what her storyline is.
Did you guys see her documentary?
Yeah, she is kind of convincing. Like, I mean, she's a good liar.
She's a great liar. I mean, if there was a Hall of Fame for liars, yeah, she's first ballot inductee.
The whole documentary to me was just excuses. It was supposed to be to like show she's innocent and all this stuff, but it was just excuse after excuse after excuse. Like I didn't see her take responsibility or accountability for really anything that she did. It was, I lied because, well, my dad told me to lie. I lied because that's how I grew up. Like it was never, I'm an adult, I lied, and I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. And I take responsibility because she can't, she doesn't, because her parents have been enabling her.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're guilty of. Yeah. They're guilty of enabling that girl her whole life. And Benny, getting back to your comment, is the how can you have a safer home? by having a retired cop. Well, what about the Alberts?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, good point, right?
You right?
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know that he wasn't a dirty cop like they are.
Right. No, you're
You know,
correct.
but
Yeah,
I don't.
we don't really know. I just have a very hard time thinking. I mean, again, I'm trying to read the guy, but I can't imagine. You know, maybe he was a crooked cop, but I can't imagine he didn't absolutely adore that little girl.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Did you guys see the documentary that came out with just the parents, the lie detector test?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, there was one that came out. I don't know if it was recently or I'm not sure exactly when it was, but it came out as a lie detector for it was Cindy and Casey. I'm sorry, Cindy and George.
Really?
George.
And they had lie detector tests. They both passed the lie detector test, but George was like struggling with the question of, did you know where Kaylee's body was? He struggled like hard for like 20 minutes. And the
Really?
guy was even telling him, like, why are you struggling with this question? Like, he was like fidgeting and he just like could not answer the question straight for like 20 minutes. But then he ended up passing
that.
But it's just so weird.
Yeah, and the fact that the way he wrapped the family animals before he buried them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I just feel like Casey and her father, something is going on there for sure. Like they're lying for each other. Like someone's lying about, like they're lying about stuff, the both of them, because both of their behavior is just so strange to me.
I agree.
Well, you know, that I could, like, if it was like an after the fact thing, I could see that George, you know, I mean, so the little girl's gone, but he's still going to try to protect his daughter. I think, you know, that's their paternal instinct is to
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure that they, you know, ripped her a new ass, but you know, after that, it's like, we got to do something to protect you, and then we're going to make this look like somebody else did it. You know,
Right.
that I could believe.
But then that's where it's like kind of strange to me is that that if he was covering up for her, why did he want her to be sentenced to death so bad that he was the only witness at that indictment? There was no other witness. He was the only one. And he was for the death penalty for her. So that's where like his behavior is kind of strange to me, is like if he's covering up for her or if she did something and he's covering up for her for a reason because he doesn't want her to be in trouble, but then he's going and trying to get her killed. So it's like his behavior, it's just like kind of not adding up to me.
Well, wasn't he at one point committed for, you know, attempting suicide, or at least writing a suicide note? He was very unstable.
Yeah, he did, right?
Yeah.
He went to like a motel or something.
So, Brittany, I take everything I said about, you know, being safe with a retired cop. He's a fucking nut job.
You know, it's sad, Benny, because when we were kids, that probably was the safest place you could be living with a cop or a retired cop when we were kids. Now they're all crooked. And they all cover up for each other too.
Yeah. But, you know, and here's the one thing I wanted to save to the end. Apparently, this, I don't even want to call her, this monster is a legal advocate on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Brittany and I think we may have brought that up before, but yeah, she was like on TikTok and everybody was like, get out of here. Like, what are you doing? Like, and then Nancy Grace like went crazy and she calls her like Top Mom or whatever.
Top
and
Mom,
she went crazy on her. And yeah, it's like a whole thing. I haven't seen any other videos. I haven't searched though on TikTok to find her at all. But I haven't seen anything else about it. But yeah, she was trying to be an advocate for people.
Can you imagine I need to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Well, or maybe she's like she's going to be a consultant. Like I want to off my boyfriend. Like, what do you suggest? And you know,
She'd probably be better at that than trying to advocate for people.
but you know, she has. I mean, she has not changed one bit. I saw that documentary. I have. It was a while ago, and I don't remember a whole lot about it. I do remember that just having the impression like this girl is never going to own what happened. She is in
No.
complete denial. Nothing's ever changed. Nothing ever will change.
She won't even talk about what she thinks happened. So in the documentary, they were going to ask her that question, and she was like, I know what you're going to ask me, and no, I'm not doing this right now. And she refused to answer. And she, for the rest of the documentary, just no, she has yet to this day come out and say like what happened or what she thinks happened at all to anybody. And someone who was on her team, I don't know what she was on the team, if she was just like an investigator, but the lady that was on her team still to this day, she's like, I've never asked her what happened.
Because they all
It's
know.
insane. Yeah. And she's like really
How to get away with murder.
Mm-hmm.
At least OJ wrote a book. Like, what was it called? If I Would Have Done It. Like,
well,
did I tell you guys? I don't think I did tell you when we covered the OJ one. I went and got that cassette, listened to it on my drive home from work. It was books on tape. I'll never forget that. And I just went, why did I just waste that money? I can't believe I'm listening to this.
Yeah, I've never listened to it.
Save you $3.
Was it? It was OJ. Was it that book?
Yes.
Brittany, was that book?
Yes.
Oh my God. I'm thinking of my cousin Vinny.
That's a good movie.
When he goes, everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
I think there was even like speculation that she was sleeping with Jose Baez.
I would bet money on that. I would bet like I would bet a lot of any money in the world that happened. That's how she repaid people.
I haven't seen him like anywhere else, which is weird because you would think that he would be like so famous now for getting her off of.
Well, I mean, not for anything. I can't stand the guy, but like, bottom line is he got her off. Well, he probably got her off in more places than one, but I mean, she's a free woman because of him, and so he did the job. But I would think a guy like that is going to be like an F. Lee Bailey or in demand everywhere, like a Johnny Cochran. But he kind of faded into the sunset after that.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen him on any other high profile cases.
No. I wonder how she paid for that though.
I think Betty just told you.
Other than sex. I mean, no, really, I'm curious. Like, she didn't have money. So
but that's probably why the father wanted to have the death penalty. I'm done with paying for her. And she said, I'm all set, Dad. I can pay for this myself. Jose, got a minute?
Yeah. And
well, I imagine, I would think they probably mortgaged their house for her.
Yeah, probably.
Again, that's so weird. Like, you're mortgaging your house and then you want her dead.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, plus he
diagnosed with bipolar
disorder. I made a small fortune on the book.
What was that, Benny?
I think I believe he wrote a book about the case, and I'm sure he probably made a lot of money on the book.
Who, Jose?
I believe he wrote a book about the case. I'm pretty
sure.
I
thought you were talking about George. I'm like, I have no idea.
Well, not George. No. No, but I, like I said, I'm really surprised. Like, I have not seen Jose Baez. Although, did he defend Aaron Hernandez?
Did he?
I don't think so. I thought it was that little Trey kid that got Trey something.
Anybody in the chat room, help me out here. Did Jose Baez defend Aaron Hernandez? I I don't know why I'm thinking that, but I mean, other than that,
No, he did. And Harvey
You did?
Weinstein. Mm-hmm.
okay,
So he likes to represent guilty people
right,
who do shitty things,
right.
clearly, by his
Yeah.
client list.
Wow.
Surprisingly,
That's right. How could I forget? I really followed the Hernandez thing big time because that was like 5 miles, 6 miles from my house where Aaron lived.
right.
So
He's
yeah.
he's
A
also
lot of
currently,
shady shit in New England there, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's currently representing Shayna Gardner, and she's accused of hiring a hitman to kill her ex-husband. He like picks like people that did crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Now,
like the shadiest of the shady.
Mm-hmm.
wow. Wow. Now, does anyone think Casey's going to write a book?
Did she write a book yet? No, I don't think
Not
so.
that I
Did
know
she?
of.
Maybe she
I
didn't.
don't know.
I don't know. I'm surprised. I'm shocked she hasn't, honestly.
Yeah,
Maybe this is the start. Like the TikTok thing was like her putting her feet in the water.
Well,
well,
Into
hopefully
I'm
the
she
sure she got.
realized very fast that that was a terrible idea and that no one likes her.
She had to make bank from Netflix too. I would imagine for that documentary. I bet she got
Oh,
paid
yeah.
plenty for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
Just like
she's hurting for
Gypsy
money
Rose.
somehow. You know, and the really bizarre thing is, and I will never figure this out. You know, people like her and people like Jodi Arias get proposals. I mean, like, are people that sick?
I think so.
Yes. Yes. Well, so Casey's not like she's not an ugly girl
No, she's
at
not. I
all.
mean, no, she was very attractive. You know, except for
Yeah.
the fact that she's Satan. You know,
Yeah.
you
Other
can
than that.
overlook that. You know, that's a small little fact.
So I'm not surprised that people are, I mean, those people are sick too, though, that try to marry those people.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, you know, it's one thing with Casey Anthony because, you know, she murdered her own child, but like Jodi Arias, I mean, that was her boyfriend. I
It
mean,
was her fiance. No, was it her husband?
no, Jodi
Was her
Arias,
boyfriend.
no, it was her
Oh, okay.
boyfriend. You know, that
Okay.
was the problem. The problem is he wasn't her husband. He wouldn't, yeah, he went up breaking it off with her and, you know, he was starting to see somebody else. And apparently she didn't like that. Um, but yeah, she took matters in her own hands and, I mean, she'll
While
never
he was
see.
showering.
Right.
You know
But
who I'm
doesn't she?
thinking of? I was thinking of I got her confused with, I don't know her name, the girl that tried to have her fiance like tried to hire a hitman, but it was a cop that she was talking to, and then it was on Cops, the show. Like
That was
they,
we covered that case. That's Dalia DiPolito.
yeah, that's who
Yep.
it was.
That
That's who
was-
I'm
Yep.
thinking of right
Oh
now.
yeah, that was
Okay.
she was another winner. Well, Tiffany, your dad, I guess, hit a lottery scratch off ticket today, and he's wanting to know does anybody know how to get a hold of Casey because I guess he's got
He's
some money.
probably he needs some loving, my dad.
He
I
does
think
apparently.
I
Yeah.
think that's what he's getting at.
Yep. Well,
Well,
now he's
I mean,
flush.
she's on
He hit the-
TikTok. If you want to
yeah, there you go.
send her a
Yeah,
little
maybe
message.
he can hire her for a consultation. You know, because he's got some legal issues, and then they could take it from there.
Well,
Yeah.
how much did he win?
I don't know.
That's what I was just going
I
to
mean, you
say.
have to have
Wait
a
a minute.
significant amount of money to be propositioning people. So
Well, he said he's the word. His exact words. I hit a scratch ticket today. I mean, like for $2, you don't use the word hit. You know, hit's got to be at least like $500.
Yeah, but that's nothing to him.
That's nothing.
He does that in an afternoon. He does 500, 1,000, another 1,000, another 500, and he doesn't even tell you about it for a week. He must have hit something good today.
Well, if he's going to proposition Casey Anthony, he better have hit a significant amount of money.
Yeah. You know it.
Oh, your sister said she's not allowed to be my stepmom.
I see that. She's not allowed to be.
That's great. What a family.
I'm
so
curious.
glad you guys are on the show.
I'm curious to know, like, if anybody would like ever marry her. Like, and how that would go. Like, would they marry her and then be like, let's have kids?
I have a
Well,
very vivid imagination. In my wildest dreams, I can't see that happening.
I
But
mean, there's sick people
I've
out
been
there.
proven wrong many times.
Oh, I would hope.
just
I
think,
hope.
Tiffany Star, there's going to be a new little star for the next generation.
I just hope that she just shouldn't be allowed to have kids.
Yeah, you'll have a baby sister, and that'd be cool,
I
right?
know.
What if my dad had a baby with Casey?
Yeah, right. When
Yes.
yeah,
Oh my God. I don't even know if he can have kids. Isn't he like too old for that now?
No. No, he
I'm
is
not.
not.
I'm not making any comments on that one. I'll let you guys talk about that one. I'm taking the fifth on that one. I believe
No,
the
it's
answer to
the
that
woman
question
that's too old
is
to have
no.
the kid,
No,
not
I
the
mean
man.
Al Pacino has, I think, a 3-year-old child, and he's, I think, 83, 84.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
that's true.
So yeah,
Yep.
I wouldn't touch Casey Anthony with a used dildo.
Who
did
said
somebody
that?
say that, or did you make that?
Someone said that, and then Tori said David would.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just
Dave,
going
this
through the
show
comments.
has standards, Dave. You gotta upgrade your taste in women there.
Yeah, we're classy here, okay?
That's right. Yeah, we have high
We're classy
standards.
broads.
Yeah, she brings it all down. You know, you got to take that scratch off ticket somewhere else. Find a classy broad. Not Dahlia DiPolito. I don't think she's out of jail yet.
Right. Yeah, right to her, Dave. Right to Dahlia. She's better looking.
That's another one, man. She didn't own anything. She
Nothing. What a
everything out of her mouth was a lie.
Yeah, she
Everything.
was another crazy one, calling the cops, like planning cocaine and then calling the cops on him and stuff.
Oh my God.
J.A. Will in the chat room is saying the oldest non-biblical case of a woman having a baby was at age 69.
No,
Wow.
thank you. 69? No, that's too old.
Yeah. I mean, people at 69 should be euthanized because I'm 69. So
I think we should block this Ron Esposito. We missed
Again?
Dave.
He's putting Dangerous Dave over.
We got to block him. He shouldn't be allowed to comment anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think I can do
Espo
that.
wants a new sister-in-law or brother-in-law, maybe.
Yep, I think so.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah. Phil's saying, I think of when Gorilla Monsoon said to Bobby Heenan, some of the barracudas I've seen you with. I think Casey's more like a mackerel, you know?
No kidding. That's a good one, Betty.
Although, I mean, I think she's what? She's probably pushing, I want to say she's about 22. Let's see.
It's gotta be around 40-ish.
Already? Jeez.
I think so.
Hold on.
So let's see,
I'll tell you.
2008, she's 80. She's about 38, 39.
She's 39.
Yeah.
39.
So, I mean, and you can see on the YouTube thing, I mean, she, like,
Just had a birthday.
Yeah, I mean, she's still, I would say, like, notwithstanding the fact that she's like the worst person on earth, but like, if you didn't know what she did, you'd think, oh, she's pretty attractive, woman.
Yeah, she's not bad looking. Well,
I think what you should do, Tiffany, is if your dad hooks up with her, just take out a life insurance policy and on him, and make yourself the beneficiary, and then got nothing to worry about.
There you go.
I Googled her age and like a bunch of stuff came up. And I didn't know this, but I guess there is something called Kaylee's Law. And it's the unofficial name for bills that have been proposed or passed in several U.S. states. And it makes it a felony for a parent or legal guardian to fail to report a missing child.
Good.
Yeah. Because
how could that not have always been a law, though? That's just like common sense.
it's like, yeah.
I
don't know, but it's good that it is now. Too bad it wasn't then, because she would have been charged with a felony at least.
Yep.
Right.
And then Dave could date a felon.
Yeah.
Oh, my dad, he needs to really up his standards.
Well, like I said,
I've
he's
had
a
that
member.
conversation with him.
Yeah, we as members of the true crime panel here, we all have the highest standards that we need to maintain. So yeah, he's got to.
Mm-hmm.
Much as he might have the hots for, he's got to, he's got to say goodbye to her.
Yes.
There's nice girls out there for him, right?
Someone said,
Well.
sorry, don't care how hot she is. I choose to live.
Oh,
Yeah, survival instinct. Yeah, I like waking up. I don't like sleeping not knowing that I'm going to wake up the next morning.
No. My
Right.
dad said something, but I won't say what he said because it's a little rated R.
Oh yeah, that's I don't know. Like what do they call it? Standards and practices. They would bar that comment.
Yeah. Tori said, I don't know how she's walking around. That was what I was going to say. I don't understand how people can see her or like how she goes out in public. Like I would be scared to go to the grocery store.
yeah.
Like how is she like functioning in society like on a daily basis?
Well,
Yeah.
she kind of disappeared for a long time, right? After she was set free, she went off the grid for a long time. I heard she
until
was like,
TikTok.
well, no, but I mean, she was free in 2011. Only in the last like maybe 3 or 4 years. I mean, she was for a good 10 years. She was off the grid, I think.
Yeah.
She, I know that right after the trial, one of the people on her team, they like her and like a couple of them, like they took off to some house that this lady rented and I don't know how long they stayed there for. And then she lived with Pat McKenna, I think. And he was, I think, one of the investigators for her. And she lived with him for a long period of time. And now she works for him. She's an advocate. Like she does like research and stuff, like legal research for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, these people, she knows how to talk.
Yeah, they all believe her. Oh, he like 1,000% believes that she's innocent. And he's like, she's part of my family. She's like my daughter. Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's around his entire family, like grandkids, like his like she's around everybody.
Oh,
I would not be able to contain myself if I was in that family, and I would probably hurt her.
If I had a pet iguana, I wouldn't let let it hang around with her.
No.
Right. Wow.
No way, no. The chat room is pretty much thanks to Dave has gone into the gutter, so we can thank him for that. But that's all right. I'm glad. You have to find out how much the scratch off is, or like maybe in our little phone chat thing, he'll divulge how much money he won.
I'm gonna text him now.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know that it's
like that.
I mean, Casey Anthony money is like 6 figures. I think he's more like
I think he's more like in like maybe 500.
I think he's more like a I don't know, Venezuelan hooker. Maybe not even that. Like.
All right, I texted him, so I'll find out.
I'm telling you, I think that was mean of him to put that in the chat without telling us how much he made.
He likes to do that.
Yeah, it's very vague.
That's kind of evil.
Because it could be, how much can you? I don't do the scratch off thing. I always go for the big bucks, the Powerball. So
yeah,
I mean, I know a scratch off you could win like $2, right? What's the most you could win?
10 million
for Powerball.
A scratch off?
No, for a scratch ticket.
No, really?
Yeah.
To me, it was always small potatoes. But I mean, again, I don't play it, so I have no idea. But I thought maybe you could win $500. Like that would be the most you could win.
No, you can win more than that. He says he won 500. He's a liar.
Okay.
I don't believe
Ron
that.
Esposito said, "God bless this podcast, helping us get through the week." So we're not going to delete him now because that's a good comment. He redeemed himself with that one. Yeah, that was.
He said 250 for Casey.
Okay. She wouldn't even wink at him for that much money.
No,
she might. You never know.
Well,
she might kill him for that much money.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys, time to call it a night. This has been great. I want to thank the usual suspects in the chat room, as well as the millions and millions of true crime fans around the world. I say it every time. We will never have a shortage of stuff to talk about. So make sure you subscribe to the Money and the Power YouTube channel so you won't miss any episodes. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about another piece of shit, Jared Fogle, the subway guy. That should be very, very interesting. Please do not forget to join yours truly and Dan Sebastiano tomorrow night at 7 for Dan and Benny in the Ring. And on Wednesday night at 7, I'm going to be co-hosting the 4th episode of When It Was Real, starring author and WWF, starring Nikita Brezhnikov. I love that show. We're going to be talking about Ernie Ladd, the big cat, this week. One of the greatest heels in the 70s, and one of the nicest guys too. But if you're a fan of old school wrestling and you want to take a great trip in the wrestling time machine, this show is for you. So for the bad girl and for Tiffany Starr, this is the One and Only Playa, telling everyone to stay safe and see you next crime. Night, folks.
Bye.